Former President Donald Trump was triggered on Sunday by UAW President Fain over this recent interview he had on CBS's Face the Nation.
We saw the Teamsters Union President Sean O'Brien meet with Trump at Mar-a-Lago earlier this month. He's having a roundtable with him this week. I know President Biden's also been invited as well. Do you anticipate that this other union will go a different direction and choose Mr. Trump?
I can't fathom any union would support Donald Trump for president. Donald Trump, in his own words, when he had his reality TV show, The Apprentice, and when he was president, when he was in the White House, he had two favorite words: "You're fired." You know, he cycled through White House staff like toilet paper.
It's really funny that he mentions that because, you know, we all remember what Trump said about toilets.
People are flushing toilets 10 times, 15 times, where the water rushes out to sea because you could never handle it.
You could never handle it. You could never handle it. Now, Fain also went after Trump's record of being anti-labor, and it compared him to Biden, whose National Labor Relations Board has actually made a lot of great decisions, rolled back a lot of the disastrous anti-labor policies enacted by the Trump administration. Now, in this next video, he previously went after Trump and called him a scab.
Donald Trump is a scab. Donald Trump is a billionaire, and that's who he represents. If Donald Trump ever worked in an auto plant, he wouldn't be a UAW member. He'd be a company man trying to squeeze the American worker.
The company is named after him. You can't get more company man than inheriting it from your daddy and then being the boss. All right? So that said, how some working people could see someone like Donald Trump as being one of them or like them, I don't understand. I don't get it. I worked in manufacturing for much of my early life, in my 20s. I was a union member. I don't get it. How do people like that see Republicans as being on their side when they're always voting against unions? They're always voting against labor and are in bed with corporations. But anyway, that's not to say the Democrats have been absolutely fantastic for labor, but honestly, you look at the policies, you look at the differences, Democrats are way better than Republicans have been in this issue. Biden's Labor Department, as I mentioned, has been a lot better than Trump's, and there's absolutely no way around that. Okay? I mean, criticize Biden on a host of other issues, and I have, but on labor, he's a lot better than Trump and even President Obama. So, that said, this got under the former president's skin, and so, of course, he took to
Truth essential.
to rage about it. I had the great privilege of watching Sean Fain, the president of the United Auto Workers, this morning on Deface the Nation. He's a real stiff who is selling the automobile industry right into the big, powerful hands of China. 55% of the industry has already left the U.S., and the rest will soon be following if I am not elected president. He bought into Biden's vision of electric vehicles, which require far fewer workers to make each car, but more importantly, are not wanted in large numbers by the consumer, and will all be made in China. I want them to be made in the USA, every type of car, and will require China and other countries through tariffs or otherwise to build plants here with our workers. Now they're building in Mexico, the biggest plants anywhere, and selling their cars tariff-free into the good old USA. Sean Fain doesn't understand this or have a clue. Get rid of this dope and vote for DJT. I will bring the automotive industry back to our country. And how would he do that? Probably the same way that, you know, he says he's going to make healthcare better. He'll be back with his plan in about 2 weeks. Yeah, no, 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Then I'll come up with the greatest healthcare plan, and I'll also come up with a way to bring all the automotive manufacturers back to the United States. No. Look, he talks about offshoring jobs, okay? And that is a problem. Make no mistake, that is a problem. Here's the thing, though. Under the Trump administration, he actually had more jobs offshored, which is to send to other countries in his administration. according to data kept by the U.S. Department of Labor on applications for trade adjustment assistance. So that's a federal aid program for workers that are dislocated by the effects of trade, okay? They found that between Trump's inauguration day and the end of June of 2020, so that's 3.5 years, the Labor Department certified petitions related to companies shifting work overseas than in the last 4 years of Obama. So there was more petitions here. Those petitions covered 184,888 jobs in fields ranging from manufacturing to back office functions for financial services companies. For the equivalent period of President Barack Obama's second term, the Labor Department certified 1,811 petitions affecting 172,336 jobs. So there were actually somewhere around 1,900 petitions during the Trump administration. There were less in the second term of President Obama. So that means about 12,552 more jobs left the United States in the first 3.5 years of the Trump presidency than in the equivalent period of the presidential term immediately before. In other words, the outsourcing, the offshoring did not stop under Trump, and that's despite him putting tariffs on China. Not only that, but those tariffs actually led to anywhere between 175,000 to 300,000 job losses directly and indirectly. So it didn't really do anything. So what's Trump's plan? I don't know. He doesn't have one. He'll be back to it in about 2 weeks. Now, look, on unions, though, Fain points out that he's not a pro-union president. He never was. In fact, his record is pretty terrible. Trump has packed the courts with anti-labor judges who support so-called right-to-work laws, more like right to work for less. Trump's National Labor Relations Board was filled with anti-union appointees who would mysteriously always side with the employers in contract disputes. Weird. Strange how that works out, right? Trump made it easier for employers to fire or penalize workers who spoke up for better pay and working conditions or to exercise their right to strike. Trump also restricted overtime pay, opposed wage increases, and actually gutted health and safety protections during COVID. Trump also pushed for a corporate tax cut bill that gave companies a 50% tax break on their foreign profits. That incentivizes outsourcing, of course, offshoring. And his tax bill, the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, actually gave companies a gigantic tax holiday on their foreign assets. So they would repatriate the money, pay very, very little tax on it. And of course, what happened? Did they reinvest in their workers? No. No, the vast majority of that went into stock buybacks and executive bonuses. Weird how that works out. Not only that, but he had also given over $115 billion in federal contracts to companies that offshored labor. So Trump's record on offshoring and on labor unions, labor rights, sucks. And that's, of course, because he's not labor. He's management. And management always looks out for management. Look, the fact is that Trump is trying to trick people, working people, into voting against their own best interests. Now, look, you can, again, have issues with Joe Biden. But on the issue of labor, I think it's pretty clear that if that's what you're interested in, worker power and being able to amass worker power, which I think is the best way really to challenge the economic system in the United States, is to organize workplaces, get people together, then Biden is a far superior choice. And Fain and the UAW know this.